Could you please talk about the licensing and some of the issues that you're facing with your dispensary, and what some of the things that you're anxious about are? I'd like to learn more about those. Yeah.
Well, actually, we don't run a dispensary. A quick brief of history. My husband, Mark Emery, started in London, Ontario. He fought against the Sunday shopping laws, banning shopping on Sundays. He fought against censorship laws by bringing in High Times magazine, which was illegal, and rap music by Two Live Crew. He went to court over allowing to have vulgar rap music sold in Canada. So my husband has always used peaceful civil disobedience of opening his bookstore on Sunday and selling these illegal books and magazines, and publishing his own magazine called The Censorship Alert, where he wrote about censorship. So Mark started selling marijuana seeds in 1994 here in Vancouver because he realized that every movement needs money, and marijuana seeds were in demand, and he would sell them and use the money raised to fund peaceful activism, ballot initiatives, political parties, media. He raised and spent millions of dollars. He gave it all away, and the U.S. government came into Canada on July 29th, 2005, and had Mark and two of his comrades who were arrested, not comrades, where are we? Two of his associates were arrested for marijuana seed selling, and they were facing 30 years to life in U.S. prison, even though none of them had even gone to the United States. They had been in Canada, their actions happened in Canada, but the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration said in their press release it was because Mark was using money to finance legalization lobbyists. And he used all sorts of puns, like their pot of money has gone up in smoke and all that. So the DEA is, I'm feeling pretty smug these days because they said it was a significant blow to legalization, and it hasn't been. But Mark used his business as a place to smoke marijuana, which is breaking the law, to sell books and magazines about marijuana, which is technically still illegal in Canada. It never got resolved. It was dealt with in Ontario, but didn't, no precedent has been set. So if you have anything written about marijuana on you, that's technically still a crime. And paraphernalia laws, bongs, pipes, vaporizers, those are also still illegal. So our store is a head shop where you can come and buy your hippie tie-dye stuff, but also your more sophisticated things like vaporizers and all that. But since 2005, with me having to go to the US and visit him in prison, we never sold seeds after that, never sold weed. And to watch all these dispensaries flourish in the time that Mark was in the US and until he got released last year, it's almost intimidating because it has actually impacted our business. Being a martyr does not make money. So like being a head shop is like being a candle shop in the modern age. People are going to go to the lamp store instead. People are going to dispensaries instead. But what we do in our business, if you want to check it out and engage in some peaceful civil disobedience, we run the Cannabis Culture Vapor Lounge, which is actually violating the anti-smoking bylaws, but I don't care. We can challenge that. People are consenting to come to our place. They're consenting and choosing to work in our place and to use marijuana in a safe environment. So the Cannabis Culture Lounge is at Hastings and Cambie. Mark has been there for 20 years doing activism out of that building, and we continue to run in elections and campaign. I worked with the BC Green Party twice, the BC Marijuana Party twice before that, and tried to go with the Liberals, but they kind of want their people. Not to say I didn't have an impact, but in terms of civil disobedience, we are still doing that. We don't sell marijuana. I was going to go for the dispensary regulations or go try to be a dispensary, but when I started looking at the rules, they're completely unfair. They're completely unjustified. This $30,000 fee is insane when you compare it to other businesses. Even pharmacies pay far less than that. So we have work to do with the dispensary regulations here in Vancouver, but like I said, strange bedfellows, I am going to give credit to the City Council and City Hall in Vancouver for putting forward regulations, because it's similar to Washington State. It's not perfect, but it's kind of like the bigger message. Most people there, when they hear Washington and Colorado legalized it together, that was far more powerful than just one-off Colorado. We needed two. And when you get to the nitty-gritty details, yeah, it's kind of crummy, but the overall message is great. And Vancouver City Council, even though the dispensary regulations in their specifics are unfair, the message overall that has been sent to the rest of Canada is that marijuana is here to stay. You've got to deal with it. Obviously, it's safe, but it's in demand. So other cities are looking to do their own regulations in better ways as well. The bad model can set a good example for better models elsewhere.
Hi. My question is, I mean, things are changing very quickly, I guess, with Trudeau coming in. Do you have any idea how long it's going to take before we're going to see any of that start to happen on the national level?
Well, I'm kind of excited about the year ahead. So Trudeau did promise to legalize it, and I do believe he's going to go through with his promise, not because he smokes pot, which he does, and not because the Liberal Party or any party is known for keeping their promises, because they're not, but because it's where the world is going. And as we're seeing with the move towards organic food and local, authentic, that's not the government saying, hey, consumers, demand businesses provide you with green, natural, healthy stuff. No, that's the consumer deciding and the businesses responding, which I love to see. So legalization is similar. It's just people want it. They really, really want it. And legalization is something you can see immediately. That's why it's so popular, is because you can vote about healthcare or climate change or whatever issue is important to you, but you know you're not really going to see that happen. Marijuana legalization, you can see it that day in Washington, that day in Colorado, the arrests stopped. The people who wanted to sell it were allowed to go and do it. So many changes happened immediate. They're concrete. The savings in enforcement was incredible. The amount of money they're spending on schools and healthcare and generating and jobs and revenue, it's there. You can't deny that. It's factual, and that's why people are excited about legalization, because it can happen now and you can see it. But here in Canada, it's an interesting thing that we've got with legalization, because the United Nations, of course, there's a UN single convention on narcotics, I forget exactly what it's called, but basically you're not allowed to legalize it as a country. So that's going to cause a bit of a problem for Trudeau. But of all great, wonderful ironies, April 20th, 420, if that means anything to you, the United Nations General Assembly is meeting in New York. And one of the topics is going to be ending the drug war around the world. And a lot of nations are coming together, and there's a report that's already been put out there, a preliminary report by the United Nations University. They have this analysis saying marijuana prohibition and the drug war has failed, what next? So we're going to have Trudeau come in January, well, December, but starting the new year, exciting things happening with a lot of talk about the nitty-gritty details, where the devil hides, you know, the devil's in the details. But we're going to also have the world's eyes on us, and they are. The United States and everyone else is watching Canada. How are you going to legalize it? Everyone knows about Amsterdam, which isn't legal. Everyone knows about Uruguay, which is. And they're very different models, but Canada is going to set the model. And I think it's unavoidable, and it will happen because you have this massive reform happening in the United States. You've got Obama ready to leave. It's his last year ahead. He's doing some pretty ambitious stuff related to African Americans in jails and the drug war and all that. So I think the year ahead we're going to see a massive change on the global stage when it comes to pot. I believe Trudeau will legalize it. I think that the details are going to have to settle out in the middle of the year, probably summertime. We're going to see. I can't give you an exact date, but I guarantee you in the year ahead, significant change is going to happen, because the United States will have to deal with Canada legalizing it. Their president, whoever it may be, is going to have to deal with a nation with a shared border producing and selling marijuana legally. And that, if you didn't hear, Mexico just had a Supreme Court decision where they're allowing citizens to provide, sell, grow marijuana, paving the way for legalization in Mexico, and the president of Mexico just said he was going to go forward and they're going to change the law. So now you have Trudeau up north, you have Mexico, and you have the United States, and they're all saying legalization is inevitable, let's do it. But again, it's about the details and the how. And it's okay that we're going to have different models of legalization, because again, it's like let the best one win. Let's see if the dry counties can do well, or if the weed crazy cities do well. And I guarantee you, marijuana legalization equals job creation, not only in growing and producing and selling pot, but in the transportation, advertising, management. Think of the craft beer industry. That's exploding. Why can't we do the same? Or even the coffee. There's coffee shops of every kind in Vancouver. There's enough room for everybody. But it's going to take some lobbying and efforts on behalf of activists to make sure that it's not too restrictive, because the government is about power. They are about control, and they'd like to control this industry, but it doesn't need control. It's been doing perfectly fine, but for the prohibition, and it'd be nice to come out of the shadows.